as you can see, I've managed to get out for a few hours, which is great considering that the UK is currently in lockdown. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my 5 best tips for newcomers in wild camping. Tip number 1. Planning. What you want to do for your first wild camp, you want to really plan what you're going to do. Visit the location that you're going to wild camp in first. That way you'll get the lay of the land and you'll get to know the surrounding area. You'll also know exactly where you're going. The other thing that's great about doing this as well is if you need to navigate your way out in the dark, you'll be able to do that as well. There's nothing more stressful than just turning up at the woods and then having to find a spot, especially if it's starting to get dark. So if you plan what you're going to do, that'll take all the stress out of it for you. Tip number 2. Preparation. Before you even go out the door, you want to prepare exactly what you're going to be doing. You want to be knowing what you're going to be sleeping under, what you're going to be sleeping in, what you're going to be sleeping on. You also want to know exactly what you're cooking and what you're cooking on, and also what you're going to drink. The best thing as well is to take a backup with you. So the first time I ever went on a wild camp, I took my twig stove. First time I've ever used it. Took my ferro rod and my knife. First time I've ever used that as well. Collected some birch bark on the way in. 4 hours it took me to light that twig stove. 4 hours. And that's because I failed to prepare. So always take a backup. Just take a little gel stove or a little gas canister just to get you out of trouble if, like me, you're stupid enough and not to practice these skills before you went out. Tip number 3. Always tell someone where you're going and what time you're going to be back. What I personally do is I drop a GPS pin on Google Maps and forward that onto someone, letting them know when they can expect me back. Some places we go, there's no mobile phone reception, so beforehand, if you can give them that information, then that's invaluable, and it could, save you staying in the woods waiting to be rescued should something uneventful happen. Tip number 4. Always take a first aid kit with you and make sure you know exactly how to use it. There's been nothing worse than cutting yourself badly and not having anything to patch yourself up with. It's nothing worse than going out and having a headache and not having any headache tablets. It's nothing worse than getting a tick and not having the device to remove them. So always have a first aid kit with you, and always make sure you know how to use it as well. Tip number 5. Just chill. The first night I went wild camping, I got into my sleeping bag and the daylight turned to night, and then the woods came alive. All the sounds of deer, the squirrels rummaging around, they're magnified, and it's quite easy to convince yourself that there's some kind of monster on the prowl. So just chill and relax. Everything sounds twice as loud at night, so you are going to hear these sounds. On that particular night, when I did finally doze off, I was awoken to a rustling in my bivvy. I was convinced there was a rat, a zombie rat, trying to steal my stash of food or my cans of beer. And finally, when I did get brave enough to switch the light on, it was a little beetle that was just walking between the ground and my ground sheet. But the rustling was so loud, it sounded like it was something bigger. So don't let your imagination run wild with you, and just chill and relax, and that way you'll probably get a better night's sleep than I did. So that concludes my top 5 tips for wild camping for newcomers. So I was tagged in by Taff, a wild man in the woods. Thanks, Taff. And I've now got to tag people in. I should tag 5, but I don't really know 5 people on YouTube, so I'm going to tag 3. So Jonathan at 24 Hour Adventure, you're up. Andy, Stillman Outdoors, you're up. Let's see your top 5. And also the Cheshire Wanderer. Now I know you've probably got a top 10, but can you limit it to 5, buddy? Okay, everyone, be safe. As always, hashtag leave no trace.